we're trying to get the next billion on bikes. I think it's changing the mindset of people 2 wheels at a time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to We Are Duffree's Perspectives.
We have a lot of responsibility. We reach thousands and millions of people through the projects that we're doing.
We are a creative agency maximizing the positive impact on businesses, society, and our planet.
So if you currently look at all communication marketing campaigns, it's not always representing society.
Radical change needs to happen now. Otherwise, brands and companies are going to get left behind.
You know, if you're a marketing manager, if you're in a senior position, you're an opportunity maker. So how can you redistribute those opportunities in an interesting way?
Every week, founder Mitchell talks to visionaries and changemakers who are shaking up the status quo.
We create content for every living soul on this planet.
Get ready to be launched into a new perspective.
The quick fire question round.
Uh-oh, fire.
What is your favorite kind of art?
Ooh, doodles.
E-bike or classic bike?
E-bike.
Less sweaty. Who's your favorite musical artist?
Person that comes to mind is Solange, because she's like the undervalued but super musical version of Beyonce.
Yeah. It's hard to
I think
Beyonce's.
the only real answer is Prince.
City girl or countryside?
City girl.
Who would play you in the story of your life?
Idris Elba.
What is something that surprises people about you?
I am super into miniatures.
What is the first thing you do in a post-lockdown world?
Hug my parents.
Ah, that's nice. That's weird, isn't it? Like that you can't hug them. Yeah. Welcome. Thanks very much for coming to our studio.
Thank you.
To be my guest today. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Wow. I'm Karlijn. I've been the head of communications and PR at VanMoof for a bit. Born in Canada, raised in Holland. That sums it up.
Wow. You're currently working for VanMoof as the global head of communications and PR. How did you get to where you are today?
It's been a road. Before this, I was working on agency side as a strategist, communication strategist. And before that, I had a stint at a startup and studied something, almost completely different.
What did you study?
Yeah, media and communications.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe not too different. But I, at the time, had no clue that something exists like the advertising industry or whatever marketing was. I really had no clue that I could end up.
You saw it more as television and newspapers. Yeah. So you were a strategist on the agency side?
Yes, that was a lot of fun.
What kind of work did you do there?
I was a communication strategist. And at the agency where I worked on brands like love brands like Hema. A real Dutch brand.
Nice.
And Schweppes, the drink. That kind of stuff.
What is it that attracted you to VanMoof?
Not even the bikes. I wasn't even into the design beforehand. I thought they were chunky. I was riding an old-fashioned bike, some vintage, whatever, hipster thing. And I knew about VanMoof, but I didn't know the design philosophy and everything going into it. And it was the CMO at the time, Dave, that I got introduced to. And he was telling me about his vision for the brand to do stuff differently than the traditional setup that I was used to at agency side, where you're working for brands and then with the marketing director there. And it's hasn't changed over the past 20 years. And his vision was to get all that in-house and to do it at the brand. And at that time, I thought, all right, okay, I've been doing this 4+ years. And I think I get a big kick out of selling an idea or pitching. And I was wondering and scared by the idea, if you're actually at a brand, you have to stick around to see if that idea worked or the strategy actually paid off. It terrified me. So I made the move.
Can you tell us about some cool projects you've been involved in?
Yeah. Everything happens so fast at VanMoof that I think every year there's always some huge thing that you look back on and think, oh, did we pull that off? But the biggest one so far, I think, has been the launch of last year. We launched our latest generation of e-bikes. And because of what was happening in the world, because of Corona at the time, that really was, I think, the most intense of all of my time at VanMoof and possibly for the whole company. So yeah, that was the coolest project. Looking back, we had we're set to launch in April. Our latest bike, we would do that at a design fair. It would be the first time we'd actually go to a place, a very unexpected place. It was the Salone del Mobile in Milan. We had a beautiful location. It'd be very exclusive. It would be for journalists only. A lot of budget, a lot of planning, and then 6 weeks before the launch, that's when Italy went into full lockdown.
Wow.
And we had to, start over, start from scratch.
Wow. You only had 6 weeks left.
Yeah.
What did you come up with?
Well, we came up with doing whatever we could do at that moment, and that was a virtual launch. And I think the choices that we made that made a difference were the choices to not do a registration of something that is already happening, like a TV show. But we chose to design something especially for the medium, so for online. And we actually got to solve some problems that we otherwise have. For example, this is a tech product. All the amazing stuff is hidden in the frame. Our signature is that everything's integrated. And if you show the bike, you don't get it. You hardly see it's an e-bike. But because we were doing a virtual launch, we could work with digital overlays. We also didn't have much time to produce this super flashy thing. So we went back to the basics, and that was just the two founders, Tis and Taco, and have them talk about the bike. And what was different from any other time was that at the end you had a Q&A just directly with Tis and Taco. And it doesn't matter if you were a fan or a kid or some hotshot journalist, everyone's questions were equal. And we got some good press from that.
Wow. I think it's really inspiring to see that you can adjust so quickly and change the whole way of thinking. And with that, reach a way bigger audience than you probably would have had if you did it on a live event. How are you challenging the status quo?
That's an interesting question. Being a bike brand, being a brand that's saying, hey, we want to get the whole world riding, commuting on 2 wheels instead of 4, I think is something that's bolder or bigger than I've realized being raised in Holland. For us, it's normal here. But not if you're living in New York or if you're from London. It's not necessarily your default way of thinking. And second to that, VanMoof, and what I like about working for VanMoof and this brand is VanMoof really is breaking conventions from the industry that it's in. It's never really behaved too much like a traditional bike brand. They do everything different. They design in-house, they produce in-house, sell in-house. Our first ever TV ad went live last year, and it got banned from TV in France for being too provocative. And that was a moment where I thought, oh, we're getting noticed, and maybe we are doing something interesting. Something's going on here.
With such a big mission and statement VanMoof has, trying to get so many people choose a bicycle over a car. I think that's already really challenging in status quo, of course. But that's not the only thing, like you said, that VanMoof is challenging, because you're trying to challenge the whole mobility industry, but within the mobility industry, also the bicycle industry, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did you make the commercial that was banned in France work from your PR perspective? Because that must have been a tough job.
Yeah, that was a part luck and a part elbow grease. It wasn't necessarily our plan with the TV commercial. The whole idea was it was an idea in itself. It was a strong idea from our then new creative director, Pascal Duval. He was just in a couple of months, first ever TV ad, and we made some choices to not behave. We're not a typical bike brand, so we're not going to have our ad follow bike ad conventions to like see a couple on e-bikes.
Taking off.
Yeah, going through the countryside. That would not be our first TV ad. Instead, we played with the conventions from the car industry. These old TV commercials that that you've seen on TV as a kid, seeing this beautiful shiny car. But then our car began to melt, and in the reflection, you could see the world that we've just come to accept. A world where, clogged city streets and traffic jams and stuff and people commuting and it's busy. And then the message here was to show like, hey, we don't have to, this doesn't have to be the way we live in cities. And something in there was too provocative for the French ad committee. And they said, no, this is an attack on the car industry and it's... They used, what was their wording? Something inducing a climate of fear. So they said, no, it's not going on TV. And mind you, it had already been for weeks on TV in the Netherlands and Germany. And if you think of a country with a strong car lobby, you'd think Germany. Yeah. But yeah, we got this from France. And I remember I was at the office at the time, and this was a year where you weren't at the office much. And I just heard, oh yeah, the flight for TV in France is canceled. So I heard the media team. And what? And by that time, a person on my team, Alpha, who's the PR specialist for France, he had also heard it. And he came to me and said, yep, okay, so I have a plan. This is the letter that we got. This is what it says. We have to go public with this. And from then we just decided, okay, do we want to do this? We'll do this. And we put the work in. We went public with the letter, made a blog post about it with our perspective. And then from there, it just took off. It struck a nerve. People started talking about it. And in that week, and then this is the first time for VanMoof to be part of a public debate. Like people were commenting on what's going on. And then we got support from all sorts of places, like politicians, from European parliamentarians, from Greenpeace even, calling out in support to us. Some politicians here in Holland, like people that I follow just because I think they're cool, like Guy Kawasaki, commenting. It was, it was special for this like brief moment this week. VanMoof was front and center to this interesting debate. So yeah, a bit of luck and a bit of hard work.
Super interesting. And congratulations, actually, because it meant that your reaction showed actually the core of the company. And with that, created this conversation going on in a bigger debate than you could ever imagined. How do you go about changing car culture?
Very carefully. Leading by example. I guess that's the only right way. We can't... we have to be humble.
It's more about changing behavior of citizens then?
Yeah, I think it's changing the mindset of people, 2 wheels at a time.
I like that.
That's not bad. You can't call out other brands. There's no use also. And, my primary mode of transport is a bike, but I also use a car or a van. Sometimes you need it.
But you do drop it off.
Yeah, I don't want to be in there too long.
Continue on your bike.
Can't be seen driving.
And what is the roadmap, or cycle route in your case, for greener, cleaner cities?
That's an important one. I think, if our whole mission is to get the next billion on bikes, you really have to look at these barriers to biking. And in the past, VanMoof has done a solid job tackling theft with the whole anti-theft tech in it and the bike hunters and everything. But to really unlock bikes for the next billion, or really to make it mainstream, I think the biggest thing is safety. It's something I've underestimated being grown up here in Holland. But as soon as you ride your bike in a foreign city, in a big city in New York, it's a thrill to me. I love it. But I do get, if that's your everyday reality, it's just not safe enough.
No.
Luckily, during Corona, we've seen a lot of cities invest or reinvest more in cycling paths and stuff. That's a start. But there's still a long way to go. And I hope VanMoof can be a part of that. But yeah, it's a big topic, safety.
What does the dream green urban environment look like to you?
That's like my ideal city or living environment. I'm a city person. It is green and spacious, and streets are designed for humans and not for cars. That open, a good combination of enough green and nature, but also fun and people and stuff going on.
Are you living in your dream city?
Almost, yeah. This is a pretty good town, a pretty good balance I think we have here.
Karlijn, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Definitely give me a call if you ever start your own PR agency, because we could use something that's as good as you. So thank you.
Thank you. This was a pleasure. It was fun.
Amazing. Take care.
Thank you.